Now, from this event, I have only seen and heard of positive things. I didn't hear one thing about how her fans are toxic. I didn't hear one thing about there being too much spotlight on Caitlin Clark, and it should have maybe been on the professional golfers that are there. We didn't hear any of that. And those are the types of things that we have been hearing for the entirety of the WNBA season.
The LPGA snatched Caitlin Clark, the most attractive name in women's sports, from the WNBA, making the biggest mistake of the year. You read that correctly, a golf league outbid a basketball league for a basketball league for a basketball star. How did this happen? What was the WNBA thinking? And most importantly, what does this mean for women's sports going forward? Stay tuned as we go into this revolutionary move. You know what's crazy?
How this Pro-Am event originally wasn't even going to be televised.
It's unbelievable that the LPGA didn't even have any plans to broadcast this on television. They were going to skip one of the most significant events in women's sports this year, but the fans weren't having it.
There were so many fans who were emailing the organization saying, how can we watch Caitlin? Can we come to the event? Can you live stream it? All of these things.
They bombarded the LPGA with emails and messages. We want to see Caitlin. It was like a tidal wave of fan demand. And you know what? The LPGA actually listened. They put it on TV, but that's not even the best part.
Ended up being put on television, and that was great. Fans were really excited about that. There was so much buzz online. She was trending on Twitter, all of the things. And the LPGA was promoting the crap out of this.
Now, from this event, I have only heard and seen positive things. I haven't heard anything about how toxic her fans are or that there is too much attention on Caitlin Clark when it should have been on the professional golfers present. These are the kinds of things we have been hearing throughout the WNBA season. The WNBA just made the biggest mistake of the year when they let Caitlin Clark, the hottest name in women's sports, slip through their fingers, and guess who snatched her up? The LPGA. How did this happen? What was the WNBA thinking? Most importantly, what does this mean for the future of women's sports? Stay tuned as we delve into this game-changing move. It's crazy that this Pro-Am event wasn't even going to be televised at first. The LPGA wasn't even planning to show this on TV. They were going to miss one of the most important events in women's sports this year, but the fans couldn't stand it. They emailed the organization to ask how they could watch Caitlin, if they could attend the event, if they could live stream it, and so on. It was like a tidal wave of fan demand, and the LPGA actually listened. They put it on TV, but that's not even the best part. Fans were really excited about that, and she was trending on Twitter, and the LPGA was promoting the shit out of this event. Now imagine Caitlin and Nelly Korda, the world's top golfer, side by side on the green, two superstars from various sports, like when Michael Jordan played baseball, but even bigger, have pictures of Caitlin and Nelly all over the place. The LPGA was very wise to do this because they knew that if they put their top golfer, who is currently leading the sport and pushing it forward, next to Caitlin for the entire event, that's just great for Nelly and it's great for everyone else. The crowd went crazy and there were cameras everywhere. Every swing, smile, and interaction between these two amazing athletes was captured on social media, and people couldn't stop talking about it. I believe some of the biggest things are seeing the crowd in Yahoo Sports with all the pictures of Caitlin at the Pro-Am. They're calling her a larger-in-life figure, and they're talking about how great it is. Nelly Korda, who was equally as excited as the fans, said, "Just tell us about the experience. It was so amazing," she said, adding, "She's so sweet, so nice. It was nice to get to spend some time with her." We messaged a little on Instagram beforehand, but it was really cool to get to spend some time with her and to see how amazing of an influence she is just for sports. This is where it gets really interesting. Let me give you the numbers. How many millions of impressions do you think Clark generated for women's golf? The numbers are in, and they're mind-blowing. It's crazy. I think one of the big things with this is that they showed just how many impressions there were. The LPGA saw an opportunity and seized it with both hands. They didn't just put Caitlin on TV, they put her next to their biggest star, creating a moment that people will be talking about for years to come. The LPGA, you can see, was happy that Caitlin Clark was there because they knew exactly the value that Caitlin Clark brought to the entire event. Did you catch that 7 million impressions just like that in a single day? That's 7 million people talking about sharing and participating in women's golf. It was crucial that new fans were becoming involved in golf, particularly in women's golf. And you know what? This is just the beginning. The LPGA has set a new standard for how to welcome stars from other sports, how to generate buzz, and how to grow your audience. This is how it's done. And the LPGA just did everything the WNBA should have been doing this season in literally one day. Hold on, something isn't adding up here. Caitlin Clark is breaking records left and right, selling out arenas and sending TV ratings through the roof. So why is one major sports league acting as though she doesn't exist? Let's get into the strange case of the missing superstar. Everything we have when it comes to the WNBA is positive, and the growth of women's sports is good. People, you look at a Fever game and there's kids, there's parents, there's people of all genders, ages, races, and you're seeing all this and you're like, they're just here to watch sports. This is great, but the WNBA wants to focus on the online Twitter trolls and how bad that is, whereas you can see what happens with another league. Now you think the WNBA would be all over this, right? Their star player making waves in another sport. It's a dream scenario for any league, but here's where things get weird. The WNBA's social media radio silence, not a peep about Caitlin's golf debut. Can you believe it? Meanwhile, every other sports outlet is blowing up ESPN, Bleacher Report, you name it. They're all talking about Caitlin Clark teeing off with the world's best golfers, but the WNBA, it's like they forgot they have the hottest name in women's sports right now. This is an instance where we are proved. Correct, you see her at this event, you see the kind of noise that is making you see that this is trending on social. You see that SportsCenter, Bleacher Report, and all of these media outlets are covering this, and you don't say anything about it. That's what we were talking about the entire season. And you're right. Well, sports commentator Rachel Day is asking the same question. She called out the WNBA, saying that the fact that the WNBA posted nothing at all about Caitlin Clark playing in this prom event, and if you look at the LPGA's Twitter account, it's filled with Caitlin Clark-related content. This isn't just a missed opportunity, though. It's like they're deliberately avoiding the spotlight. What major opportunity is the WNBA missing out on? They're letting a golden chance to grow their audience. Think about all those golf fans who were watching Caitlin for the first time, and they could have been the WNBA's next big supporters. They also should have been posting about this, but they said nothing. And you know who's noticing? The fans. They're not staying silent about it either. They're flooding social media with questions. Why isn't the WNBA celebrating one of its biggest stars? Why aren't they seizing this crossover moment? The frustration is real, and it's growing. It feels like the WNBA is playing defense when they should be on offense. They have an incredible player shining a spotlight on women's sports, yet they're sitting on the sidelines. It doesn't make sense. In other sports, moments like this are celebrated, and players get the respect and recognition they deserve. Why not here? Have you ever seen it when an NBA or NFL player shows up at an event and they'll drop a comment or post something? It's always celebrated. Some are saying the WNBA is being too cautious, worried about overshadowing other players. But come on, this is sports. It's all about celebrating your stars and using their spotlight to elevate the whole league. Instead, the WNBA's approach is leaving fans disappointed and confused. There's clear hesitation in giving Caitlin Clark too much praise. They didn't want to lift her up too much, worried it might overshadow the players who came before her. They hesitated to put her on MVP ladders or Rookie of the Year lists until it became undeniable. There were just so many moments where it felt like they were holding back, making sure they didn't overhype her. We don't want to tweet too much about her, post too much, or give her too much media coverage. It was almost like they were trying to keep everyone else happy. That seemed to be the consensus throughout the whole WNBA season. Or will they finally wake up and realize what they're missing? One thing is certain, if they don't change their strategy soon, they may end up watching from the bench while other leagues run away with the ball. We were right when the fans said that the WNBA seemed to be trying to silence Caitlin Clark's voice and not helping their own players in the league, and this event proved it. The LPGA did everything right. They capitalized on the moment they figured out a way to show it on television and let people there. Caitlin was signing autographs, and they put their best golfer in the tour league, whatever it is, with Caitlin because they knew she would draw more attention. Caitlin Clark is making waves, but in unexpected ways. Going crazy for this basketball phenomenon. Let's explain why these golfers are so excited. Nelly Korda, the best golfer in the world, couldn't stop talking about Caitlin. We've messaged her on Instagram beforehand, but it was really cool to get to spend some time with her and see how amazing of an influence she is just for sports. She was amazed by how Caitlin brought people out to watch golf, and it's not just Nelly, other golfers are lining up to get a piece of the Clark magic. Now, you might be wondering what the big deal is, and Brittany Lynam summed it perfectly when she said what she has done for women's sports and basketball. and hoping she signs it for my girls, but how cool for her to come out and support us this week and only help grow with women's golf. Did you catch that these golfers see the bigger picture? They know Caitlin's star power isn't just good for basketball, it's good for all women's sports. It's like they've cracked a secret code. When women's sport gets more attention, it lifts up all the others. And Caitlin Clark, she's like a rocket booster for women's sports. From this event, I have only seen and heard of positive things. I didn't hear one thing about how. Her fans are toxic. I didn't hear one thing about there being too much spotlight on Caitlin Clark, and it should have maybe been on the professional golfers. The LPGA is showing everyone else how it's done. They're not just tolerating Caitlin's presence, they're celebrating it. They're using her star power to shine a spotlight on their own amazing athletes. Yeah, I'm a massive Kay Clark fan. I love basketball, especially her. I tried to sneak in and come see her. They didn't really do that before my prom Wednesday, and I'm a little sad about that. I think she's a lot of her ability to block out things that are happening to the WNBA around here. And it's funny because, as I've always said, the people who are at the top of their game will really appreciate what Kay Clark's dealing with. And you know what? It's working fans who might never have watched golf before tuning in because they're seeing these amazing golfers and thinking, wow, this is pretty cool. This is days later, and there is nothing but love for Caitlin Clark over here all the time. It's all about teamwork. And the LPGA's brilliant move with Caitlin Clark is revolutionizing golf and upending the entire sports world. Some of the biggest names in sports are taking notice. We're talking Serena Williams level of notice. And let's talk tennis for a moment. Caroline, a former world #1, stated that she would love to play doubles with Caitlin Clark. Outside of tennis, my biggest role model and someone who has inspired me a lot has probably been like a Mia Hamm and those women in other sports who have pushed boundaries and elevated our sport. I think it would be a lot of fun to have a huge crown behind us. As I've always said, when people who are at the top of their game take notice of what Clark is doing for women's sports, they will truly appreciate what Kay and Clark are dealing with. For example, when it comes to female golfers, they make the DC some money like a lot of the good ones, so they're at the top of their game and they're completely happy about Kay and Clark, just like Serena Williams. Now, you might be thinking, well, but what does this mean for other women's leagues? Well, let me tell you, it's putting some serious pressure on them. The LPGA showed everyone how it's done. They celebrated a star from another sport, put her front and center, and let her shine. Guess what else leagues are watching? They're seeing how the LPGA turned one golf, the LPGA turned the event into a social media sensation. Fans from all different sports are suddenly talking about women's golf. It's like the LPGA cracked the code and now everyone wants a piece of it. They all want a bit of Caitlin Clark because they know what she brings crowds, attention, and buzz. Even when it comes to doubles, Caitlin mentioned that it would be fun and draw a big crowd. For these players, playing in front of a massive audience is what everyone strives for. The Caitlin Clark effect is setting a whole new standard. It shows that it's not enough just to have great athletes. You need to embrace your stars, celebrate them, and use their platforms to grow your sport. The LPGA didn't just put Caitlin Clark on a golf course, they paired her with their top player and let the magic happen. So what does this mean for other women's leagues? It means they need to step up their game. The old way of doing things is looking outdated. Currently, leagues that don't adapt, embrace their stars, and use them to attract new fans will be left behind. This helped everything, and you can see how other leagues are realizing how important this can be for their sport. Yes, these fans are probably not going to attend every event, but they might become fans of Nelly Korda, certain players, or different aspects of the sport, and that's how you keep fans in the long run. For some reason, the WNBA knows this, but let's be honest, it's seriously hurting the WNBA's image. Winning more fans, more attention, and more opportunities for all athletes. I hope they get it right next season. You've got great players in this league page coming in, Juju too. Don't fumble this opportunity with them. Stop fumbling the moment. You're not just fumbling it for the current players in the league, you're fumbling it for every girl who dreams of playing professional basketball. You're fumbling it for people like me who never saw a future in the game, but now girls can see it. They see they can make money, play at the highest level, and that college isn't the biggest stage anymore. The WNBA has to step up and not fumble this for those girls. So what's next? Will other leagues follow the LPGA's lead? Will we see more cross-sport collaborations? One thing's for sure, the game has changed, and any league that wants to keep up better be ready to adapt. Play by the new rules, every single league recognizes the importance of a transcendent star like Caitlin Clark. Aside from the league she plays in, the LP Georgia just demonstrated to the entire sports world how to welcome a superstar from another sport by making Caitlin Clark the main event. Now that everyone is watching, the big question is whether the WNBA will take notice and make changes or continue to play it safe while other leagues steal the show. What do you think the WNBA should do with Caitlin Clark? Should they make her the league's face or keep things low-key? One thing is certain: the game has changed, and the WNBA must quickly adapt. How they handle this could determine the future of women's basketball. Are you excited to see what happens next?